What you're about to witness is nothing short of a geopolitical earthquake. Germany, once the undisputed economic powerhouse of Europe, the nation that rebuilt itself from the ashes of World War II into an industrial colossus, is now crumbling before our eyes. This isn't just another economic downturn. This is a structural collapse of a system that took decades to build. Today, we're going to dissect exactly how Germany went from being the sick man of Europe in the early 2000s to its economic miracle, only to return to being sick again. But this time, potentially terminally ill. We'll explore the numbers, the policies, the geopolitical miscalculations, and the catastrophic consequences that extend far beyond Germany's borders. The data is undeniable. Germany's economy contracted by 0.2% in 2024, marking the second consecutive year of economic decline. But the real story isn't just about numbers. It's about how a nation voluntarily dismantled the very foundations of its prosperity in pursuit of ideological goals that have proven disastrously naive. Let's start with the brutal reality of Germany's economic performance. The German Federal Statistical Office confirmed that GDP contracted by 0.2% in 2024, following a 0.3% decline in 2023. This means Germany's economy is now only 0.3% bigger than it was in 2019, essentially 5 years of zero growth. Compare this to the European Union average growth of 9.5% since 2017, while Germany managed a pathetic 1.6%. The contrast is stark and undeniable. Even more telling, Goldman Sachs research projects Germany will expand by only 0.3% in 2025, compared to 0.8% for the Eurozone and 1.2% for the UK. The industrial sector, Germany's crown jewel, tells an even more devastating story. Industrial output in Germany has fallen to just 90% of its 2015 levels by 2024. Meanwhile, Poland, once considered Germany's economic junior, has surged to 152% of its 2015 industrial output over the same period. This isn't just statistical noise. This represents a fundamental shift in European industrial geography. German manufacturers are fleeing their homeland en masse, according to the German Chamber of Industry and Commerce. 45% of energy-intensive companies are now considering production cuts or relocating abroad, up from just 25% in 2022. Germany's automotive sector, along the backbone of its export economy, is in freefall. Car production in Germany fell by more than 25% between 2017 and 2023. German giants like Volkswagen and BMW are being outcompeted by Chinese manufacturers like BYD and NIO, who are flooding European markets with cheaper, better electric vehicles. The irony is palpable. Germany, the nation that perfected the internal combustion engine, is now losing the electric vehicle race to China. This isn't just about market share. It's about the future of industrial supremacy. To understand Germany's collapse, we must examine the single most catastrophic policy decision in modern European history: the deliberate severance of energy ties with Russia. This wasn't just about Ukraine. This was about Germany voluntarily destroying the very foundation of its industrial competitiveness. For decades, cheap Russian energy was the secret weapon that made German manufacturing globally competitive. Natural gas from Russia didn't just power German factories, it powered the entire German economic model. When Germany chose to cut itself off from this energy source, it committed economic suicide. The numbers are staggering. After the 2022 gas crisis, Germany's already high energy prices shot up further, making German manufacturing uncompetitive virtually overnight. Energy-intensive industries, which form the backbone of German manufacturing, suddenly found themselves unable to compete with manufacturers in countries with cheaper energy. This wasn't an accident or an unforeseeable consequence. It was a deliberate choice. German policymakers knew that cutting off Russian energy would devastate their economy. But they chose to prioritize geopolitical bending to imperialism interests over economic reality. The consequences extend far beyond energy bills. German chemical companies, steel producers, manufacturing giants are now facing an impossible choice: accept massive losses or relocate production to countries with cheaper energy. Most are choosing the latter. According to Bloomberg, 4 in 10 German manufacturers are considering limiting production or relocating abroad. The German chemicals industry, once a global leader, is particularly vulnerable. Despite some recovery in 2024, the fundamental problem remains. German energy costs are structurally higher than competitors. Germany has attempted to replace Russian gas with Norwegian supplies and LNG imports. But this comes at a massive cost premium. Norwegian gas now accounts for about 35% of German imports, followed by the Netherlands at 30%. But these alternatives are significantly more expensive than the Russian gas Germany voluntarily abandoned. The government has spent billions on new LNG terminals and securing alternative supplies, but these costly efforts have only partially filled the gap left by Russian energy. German consumers and businesses are paying the price through higher energy costs that show no signs of decreasing. What we're witnessing is nothing less than the deindustrialization of Germany. Companies aren't just reducing production, they're physically moving their operations to countries with lower energy costs and more sensible policies. This isn't a temporary adjustment, it's a permanent shift in the industrial landscape of Europe. Poland has emerged as the primary beneficiary of German industrial decline. With lower energy costs, reasonable regulatory frameworks, and proximity to Germany, Poland is attracting German manufacturers at an unprecedented rate. Polish industrial output has surged to 152% of 2015 levels, while Germany's has fallen to 90% as mentioned. The economic center of gravity is moving eastward, and German policymakers seem powerless to stop it. Perhaps even more concerning is the acceleration of German investment in China. German FDI accounted for 57% of total EU investment in China in the first half of 2024, up from already high levels in previous years. German automakers are closing factories at home while opening new ones in China. Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW are all expanding their Chinese operations while struggling with their German plants. This isn't just about market access, it's about production costs and regulatory environments that favor manufacturing. Germany's regulatory burden has become a major factor driving companies away. Layers of bureaucracy, environmental regulations, and labor laws that made sense in a high-growth environment are now strangling companies already struggling with high energy costs. Many are concluding that the only rational response is to relocate production to more business-friendly environments. Beyond the energy crisis and regulatory burden, Germany faces a fundamental demographic challenge that compounds all other problems. Germany's workforce is aging rapidly, with more workers retiring than entering the labor market. This demographic shift isn't just about labor shortages, it's about productivity and innovation. An aging workforce is typically less adaptable to new technologies and less willing to embrace the changes necessary for economic transformation. Despite maintaining relatively low unemployment at around 5%, Germany's productivity growth has been anemic. The combination of an aging workforce, high energy costs, and regulatory burden has created a productivity trap that's difficult to escape. Automation offers a partial solution, but it's not sufficient to offset the broader structural challenges facing the German economy. Moreover, the high energy costs that plague traditional manufacturing also affect automated production facilities. Germany's inability to lead in transformative industries like electric vehicles, renewable energy technology, and digital services reflects a deeper problem with innovation and adaptation. While China pursued aggressive EV leadership through its Made in China 2025 strategy, as German companies hesitated and fell behind. This innovation deficit isn't just about individual companies. It reflects systemic problems with Germany's economic model that prioritizes stability over dynamism. The most damaging aspect of Germany's economic crisis is that it was largely self-inflicted. German policymakers made conscious choices that prioritized short-term political goals over long-term economic sovereignty. The decision to provide nearly 34 billion euros in bilateral assistance to Ukraine, while neglecting domestic infrastructure investment, perfectly illustrates this misguided prioritization. Germany can find billions for foreign conflicts, but claims it lacks funds to rebuild its own industries. Germany's public investment rate of just 2.8% of GDP is well below the EU average and dramatically less than countries like Poland and Sweden, which invests over 5%. This chronic underinvestment in infrastructure has left Germany with outdated grid systems, inadequate digital infrastructure, and transportation networks that can't support modern manufacturing. The irony is that Germany has the fiscal capacity to invest in infrastructure, but chooses to spend money on foreign adventures instead of domestic priorities. Germany's membership in the Eurozone has eliminated traditional policy tools for dealing with economic crises. Currency devaluation, which could restore competitiveness, is impossible within the Eurozone. Cutting wages risks social and political backlash that could destabilize the government. This leaves Germany with limited options for restoring competitiveness. The country is trapped in a high-cost, low-growth scenario with few viable escape routes. German politics has become increasingly dysfunctional, with coalition governments unable to make the tough decisions necessary for economic reform. The political system rewards consensus building over decisive action, making rapid policy changes virtually impossible. This political paralysis compounds the economic crisis by preventing the kind of bold policy interventions that might restore German competitiveness. Germany's economic problems don't stop at its borders. As the largest economy in the EU, Germany's struggles threaten the entire European project. Many smaller member states depend on German investment and trade, making German economic health crucial for European stability. A weakened Germany could accelerate economic fragmentation within the EU, potentially leading to a broader European economic crisis. While Germany struggles, Central and Eastern European countries are gaining ground. Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic are becoming increasingly attractive to foreign investors thanks to lower costs, more reasonable policies, and growing service sectors. Even Spain is now outpacing Germany in foreign investment and economic innovation. This represents a fundamental shift in European economic geography that could have lasting geopolitical consequences. The implications extend far beyond economics. German political influence within the EU has been largely based on economic strength. As that strength erodes, so too does German political leverage. Germany's economic crisis also has significant implications for U.S.-German relations. A weakened Germany is less valuable as an ally and less capable of contributing to Western security initiatives. Moreover, the economic dependence on China is growing just as the U.S. seeks to decouple from Chinese manufacturing. This creates potential tensions between German economic interests and American strategic objectives. The increasing economic dependence on China represents a strategic vulnerability that could be exploited in future conflicts. As German manufacturers relocate to China and German companies become more dependent on Chinese markets, Germany's ability to act independently in international affairs diminishes. The self-imposed energy isolation from Russia has weakened not just Germany, but the entire Western alliance. By demonstrating that economic sanctions can be more damaging to the sanctioning country than the target, Germany has potentially undermined the effectiveness of economic statecraft. This could encourage other countries to resist Western pressure, knowing that such pressure often comes at significant cost to the Western countries themselves. The solutions are clear but politically difficult. Germany needs a bold new energy policy that balances affordability with reliability. This likely means reconsidering its relationship with Russia and developing more pragmatic approaches to energy security. Germany also needs massive infrastructure investment, regulatory reform, and policies that encourage rather than discourage industrial production. But these changes require political courage that seems lacking in current German leadership. The country's leaders chose to sacrifice German economic interests for abstract geopolitical goals, and the German people are paying the price. This crisis also highlights the limitations of the European project. The Eurozone's constraints prevent Germany from taking the kind of decisive action necessary to restore competitiveness, while EU regulations add to the regulatory burden that's driving companies away. If Germany fails to adapt, the consequences will extend far beyond German borders. The economically weakened Germany threatens European stability, transatlantic relations, and the entire Western alliance. The choices made in the next few years will determine whether Germany can recover its economic strength, or whether we're witnessing the end of German economic hegemony in Europe. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the time for action is running out. The fall of Germany isn't just an economic story. It's a geopolitical transformation that will reshape the global balance of power for decades to come. The question isn't whether Germany will change, but whether it will change voluntarily or be forced to change by economic reality. The German economic crisis is far from over. In fact, we may be witnessing only the beginning of a much larger transformation. The decisions made by German leaders in the coming months will determine whether this crisis becomes a temporary setback or a permanent decline. Whether Germany can meet this challenge will determine not just its own future, but the future of Europe itself. What are your thoughts on Germany's economic crisis? Will Germany break the chains of U.S. imperialism interests and find their own path? Or will keep as a doormat for Uncle Sam objectives? Share your experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more analysis of the geopolitical and economic forces shaping our world.